Okay. So in the last class, we had started with the fourth unit. We had looked into the fundamental aspects of clustering, okay, and which we categorized it under supervised learning. I told you what is supervised learning, what is its significance, how come clustering comes under supervised learning. All this was also discussed. So clustering, yeah, all this was discussed with these examples. I gave you the example with this chart. Applications was also discussed. Yeah, the qualities of good clustering. Yeah, I think we need to start here. Okay, so today we'll start with the various clustering techniques. With the various clustering techniques, we will look into the partitioning clustering technique. Okay, partitioning clustering technique. So I have another PPT for you for that. Okay, so as you're aware, your clustering is basically used for categorization, pre-processing, visualization, a lot of things. And we had already discussed the applications of clustering. So, let's try to recollect the definition what we had given for clustering. What is clustering all about? The process of dividing the data set into different groups, such that the members of each group are similar to each other. So you can see this is a one group or one cluster. So the members are all similar to each other. Okay. Whereas the different groups, members of different groups, cluster 1 and cluster 2, they are dissimilar as much as possible. Okay. So you can even say in better words or in machine learning terms, we can say that. So, I mean, as far as clustering is concerned, you will be having high intra-cluster similarity. So this is what is intra-cluster. Within a cluster, similarity among the data points will be very high. Intra-cluster similarity will be very high, whereas this is inter-cluster similarity among different clusters. Okay, inter-cluster similarity will be very low. Okay, so these are the two characteristics of a good clustering technique. Okay, so it's basically for classifying the objects into multiple groups or clusters such that the intra-cluster similarity is very high and inter-cluster similarity is low. Okay, so today we will look into one of the most popular clustering technique known as the partitioning technique. Partitioning technique. Hope all of you are listening. 78 is the strength, so still many more to join, is it? Okay, so partitioning technique. So what this partitioning technique does is it will classify the information or the data points into multiple groups, okay, based on the characteristics and the similarity of the data. Okay, so when you're dividing it into number of clusters, the data analyst who's going to do that job, so he will have to specify the number of clusters it has to generate, okay, for the particular clustering technique. Okay, so how many clusters has to be generated, whether it is 2 clusters or whether it is 3 clusters, he has to specify the total number of clusters which has to be generated. Okay, so you can see here the definition given for a partitioning technique. Okay, so when you're given a database D of n objects, you divide the D objects into k clusters such that the sum of squared distance is minimized. Sum of the square distance is minimized. Okay, so when you're given a database with n objects or n data tuples, so what the partitioning technique will do is it will construct some partitions for the data set. Let's say k partitions for the data set. Okay, so each partition, each k will represent a cluster. Okay, so that k will always be less than or equal to the total number of objects or data tuples. Okay, so that's what a partitioning clustering will do. Okay, so there are n number of, many algorithms. Among them, the popular partitioning clustering techniques are: one is what is called the k-means clustering, second one is what is called the k-medoids clustering, and the third one is what is called CLARA. It is clustering large applications, CLARA technique. Okay, so these are the 3 algorithms or techniques which you will be learning under partitioning clustering. Okay, so this k-means clustering technique. Okay, so in this, each cluster will be represented by the average value of the various data points, whatever is being considered in the cluster. Whereas in your k medoid clustering technique, which is also a partitioning around the medoids. I'll tell you what is all these things. Okay, so here each cluster is represented by one of the objects located at the near the center of the cluster. Okay, the first one is all about mean. Okay, it's also called a centroid technique, your k-means clustering. Centroid technique. The second one is what is called k-medoid technique. Here, each cluster is represented by one of the object which is located near the center of the cluster. The other one is all about average. Then you have a technique for clustering very large applications called Clara. Okay, so today's class we will look into this particular technique, the k-means clustering technique. Okay, so I just mentioned here each cluster. This is also called a centroid based technique. Centroid or cluster center. Centroid based technique. Okay, so I had just mentioned in k-means clustering, each cluster is represented by the mean value of the objects in the cluster. Okay, so now let's look into the algorithm briefly. Then let's work out an example. Okay, so maybe when I just mentioned the steps, it may not be clear. So we'll work out an example to understand what this k-means clustering is all about. Okay, so in the first step, you need to determine the number of clusters before the algorithm is starting. So it's called K. So you need to find out how many clusters you're planning to go with. Okay, so that has to be first determined. Okay, so determine the number of clusters, how many clusters you need. Okay, so the input will always be data samples or examples, and output will always be clusters, the K number of clusters. Okay, so then you choose k instances randomly from the data points. You choose k instances randomly. So these are called the initial cluster centers. Cluster centers are also called by another name, centroids. Okay, centroids. Madam sits in the third floor, ma'am. Third floor. You can go by the stairs. Okay, so sorry. So choose the k instances randomly. So these are called the initial cluster centers. Okay, and after that, the next step, you need to compute the mean of the centroids and assign the remaining samples to the closest cluster based on, you can see a terminology here, Euclidean distance. Have you heard about this? Euclidean distance. At least a yes or a no. Heard about what is called Euclidean distance? No one will respond. At least one no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so what, do you know what is the formula for it?
x2 minus x1 the whole square plus y2 minus y1 the whole square root.
Yes,
whole
yes.
root of that.
Yes, exactly. So there are actually many distance measures, Euclidean distance measure, Manhattan distance measure, Minkowski's distance measure, city block distances. There are so many distance measures. So I'm not going to take up everything. So as we come across in the various algorithm, we'll just take up those alone. Okay, fine. So as Nityashree said, suppose you have 2 points, x1, y1 and x2, y2. So your Euclidean distance will be x1 minus x2 the whole square plus y1 minus y2 the whole square, or x2 minus x1 the whole square plus y2 minus y1 the whole square, the square root of it. Okay, so that's what is the Euclidean distance all about. Okay, so you compute the mean of the initial clusters and assign the remaining sample to the closest cluster based on the Euclidean distance or any other distance measure between the instances and the centroids of the cluster. Okay, then you after the first iteration is over, you proceed by computing the new centroids, considering the newly added samples. Okay, then you repeat the steps 3 and 4 till the algorithm becomes stable with no more changes in the assignment of the instances and the cluster. I know it wouldn't have made sense to many of you when I mentioned all the algorithmic steps, except for those who are doing your NPTEL course in data science. Okay, so they would have come across this technique. Am I right? Or I think the Intel machine learning course also would have covered k-means clustering. Yes or no? As such, nobody will respond to anything. Okay, fine. Whatever it is, I'm teaching you, and I'll not ask you any questions. Okay, so let's look into what happened. Fine. So we'll look into an example. Okay, before we look into an example, so the metric that is being used in k-means clustering is called sum of squared error. Okay, what happened? Sum of the squared error. Okay, so after this is actually the metric for validating the k clusters, the sum of the squared distance error metric. Okay, so after having settled with the clusters, or after you have found the clusters, okay, so we actually have to find the sum of squared distance between each and every cluster. Okay, so if it is too minimal, we can say that the inter-cluster similarity exists. Okay, so actually for a good clustering technique, you need to have a good inter-cluster similarity, is it? Okay, so in case if it's too minimal, your SSE, that is sum of squared distance error, if it is minimal, then we can say that, a good inter-cluster similarity exists, and then a proper cluster has been formed. Okay, so that's how we conclude. Okay, so SSE stands for sum of squared error. So k-means clustering involves portioning or partitioning of n samples to k clusters in order to minimize the sum of squared error. Okay, so the aim of k-means clustering algorithm is basically to minimize your sum of squared distance error. Okay, so actually there is a formula. Sum of square distance error is equal to sigma distance, let's say Ci, comma, x, the whole square. So what is this distance mentioned here? I to k or I to n, whatever. What is the distance mentioned here? What is the distance mentioned here? Ci is actually the centroid. Centroid. The cluster center, centroid. Centroid of the ith cluster. So that's what is mentioned by Ci. Okay, so x is the sample or the data point. What about the dist mentioned here? Distance mentioned here. What is the dist mentioned here? Just now I told a minute back, what is the distance measure being used in k-means clustering? Somebody from B section? B section will open your mouth only if the Deepa ma'am asks her. Is it? Akshat? What is the dist mentioned here? Akshat Porwal.
The distance, ma'am.
Distance. Yes, that's a wonderful answer. I'm asking what distance is it? Just now I told here, right? The Euclidean distance. The Euclidean distance. Okay, so it's basically the Euclidean distance. Okay, so that's what this is, your sum of squared distance error, which we are supposed to minimize as a part of k-means clustering algorithm. So this distance is nothing but your Euclidean distance. Euclidean distance. Ci is nothing but the centroid of the ith cluster. X is nothing but your data points or samples. Okay, so our objective is basically to minimize your sum of squared error. Okay, Fine. This is advantages and disadvantages. We'll come back to it after we work out the problem. It's considered to be a simple, easy to implement and understand algorithm, whereas its disadvantages, it's sensitive to initialization process, as change of the initial points lead to different clusters. Okay, so we randomly initialize the initial seed points or the number of clusters that we want. Okay, so it's always dependent on that initialization process, which can be different at different points of time. So it can always different lead to different clusters, different types and different forms of clusters being formed. Okay, again, if the samples are large, then of course the algorithm will take a long time. Okay, so the next algorithm after this, which we are going to discuss, the K-Medoids algorithm. So it is considered to be a little more better, an improvised version and a better algorithm when compared to your K-means clustering. Okay, so I said K is nothing but the number of clusters, what you are planning to get as an output, K. Okay, so now the question is how to choose the value of K. How to choose the value of K. Okay, so uh, sometimes, many a times, it will be specified in the question. Okay, when a K-means clustering technique is being asked, how many number of clusters you are supposed to form with that particular data set. Okay, so otherwise, yeah, how to choose the value of K. Okay, so you know that K is a user specified value, which will specify the number of clusters that are present. Okay, but then actually speaking or practically speaking, there is no hard and fast rules which is available to pick the value of K. Okay, so one of the methods which is being used is actually called the elbow method, the one which is being shown here. Okay, so the left hand side, if you see, so visually you can see that the optimal number of clusters around should be around 3. So you can see these many points can be put into one cluster. This can be put into another cluster. The third one can be put into another cluster. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is just by visual inspection. I'm telling that we can have 3 clusters. Okay, but then visualizing the data alone may not give you the right answer, especially when you have large number of data points or data samples. Okay, so one particular method which is used to choose the value of K is nothing but your elbow method. Okay, so in this method, what you do is you will run this k-means clustering technique for different values of k in the sense a range of values of k. Let's say k equal to 1 to 10. So the k-means clustering algorithm will be run for a range of values of k, say k equal to 1 to 10, and then you calculate what is known as your SSE, sum of squared distance error. Okay, so SSE is calculated as the mean distance between the data points and their cluster centroids. Already I had given you the formula for it. Okay, so the average value will be taken as your SSE. Okay, so after that, what you do is you plot a line chart with the values of your SSE. You can see here the line chart is being plotted with a for each k value. Okay, so a line chart is being plotted for the SSE values, sum of squared values for each value of k. Okay, so after plotting, if this particular line chart looks like an arm, you can see here an elbow shape. Okay, arm, then the elbow of the arm, this is your arm, so the elbow of the arm, elbow is this part, right? So elbow of the arm is actually the value of the k that is the best. So that's how you basically try to plot the value. Okay, so the optimal or the best value of k will be identified by the horizontal part, the horizontal part of the elbow curve. Okay, the horizontal part of the elbow curve will actually give you the value of k. Okay, so this is one of the methodologies being used, but then when academics purpose, when we use this k-means clustering algorithm, k will always be provided to you, the how many number of how many number of clusters to be formed. Okay, so now let's take an illustration. Are you all with me? Chetna is there in the selective? No response. Ravi is there in this class? This elective or some other elective? Okay, so no response from anyone. So let us not give attendance to B section today. No response from anyone from B section? Who else is there in B section? Let me check the list out here. Akash? Akash is listening?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Akash has responded. So only attendance only for Akash today from B section. How many? 91 students are there. Right, fine. C section, I'm not familiar with the names. That's why. Okay, now let's work out example. Please take down this in your notebooks. You can work out along with me. Okay, so let's consider this. What is this? Something coming up? Ma'am, I will be attending the Optum test which commences at 2 p.m. I think it is for everybody, right, Apurva?
No, ma'am. Only a few of us have been selected for it.
Is it? So only those students will be going, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. I'll get the list from your Preeta ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
I'll ask her because I think many will be there. Not the entire class, at least a couple of them would be there. Okay, you don't have to put it here, so you can go ahead at 2 o'clock. So meanwhile, okay, we'll just finish this. Okay, so consider the following set of data given in the table. So you cluster it with K-means algorithm with the initial values of objects 2 and 5. So these two with the coordinate values 4, 6 and 12, 4 as the initial seeds. So this one 4, 6 and 12, 4. Okay, so K-means clustering. Okay, so can you just make a note of this in your notebooks? So these are the objects or 5 data points given to you. First one is 2, 4. Second one is 4, 6. Third one is third sample is 6, 8. Fourth sample is 10, 4. Fifth sample is 12, 4. Okay, so these are the samples given to you. Okay, so it's mentioned 2 clusters. So fine. So we are being given the initial seed points. What are the initial seeds? The object number 2 and object 5. Object 2 is having the coordinate values 4 and 6. And object 5 is having the coordinate values 12 and 4 respectively. Okay, so if it's given in the question that divide the data, following data into 2 clusters. So immediately you can divide it into 2 clusters. Okay, so here it is specified. I mean, which is the initial seed point. If that is not given in the question, you can choose, you can randomly choose 2 cluster centers. Okay, so the initial data points or the sample or the data points. Okay, so we are starting it as 2 clusters and they are considered as the initial cluster centers. Okay, so if it is not mentioned, if it is just mentioned as 2 clusters and the initial seed points are not specified in the question, you can randomly select 2 points. You can select 2, 4 or 4, 6, 6, 8, 10, 4. It's up to you. Okay, so you can randomly select the initial cluster centers or centroids. Okay, initial. Okay, so here it is mentioned. Here it is mentioned. You can see here initial seeds are objects 2, 5 and the coordinate values are 4, 6 and 12, 4. Okay, so that's the reason why 2 clusters with these cluster centers. Okay, so what is the next step? What is the next step it mentions in the algorithm? What is the next step? So you compute the, so this part is over for us. Okay, choose the K instances randomly. Here it is not randomly. It is mentioned which are the seed points. Otherwise, you can choose them randomly and assign them as the initial cluster center. Okay, the next step is compute the mean of the initial clusters. Okay, compute the mean of the initial clusters and then proceed. Okay, so how do you compute the mean of this? This is actually only one sample. If more than one sample is involved, then you can go ahead by computing the average and other things. Okay, so here the average is this cluster itself, this value itself. Okay, so the centroid, I mean when you say compute the mean value, okay, so the centroid, the data point and the mean will be the same because only one sample is involved in this. Okay, so average value will be 4.6 itself or 12.4 itself. Okay, so you are just assigning them to a variable called V1. That's up to you. Okay, so this is cluster 1. See, this is cluster 1 and cluster 2. Compute the mean. So initial clusters, the mean will be the same. Okay, so you assign them the value V1 and V2. Okay, so now what is the next step? Next step is you need to compute the distance. Distance between these centroids and the various data points. So now you have the centroids. Centroid 1 is 4.6 and centroid 2 is 12.4. Okay, so you need to compute the distance from these centroids to each of these data points. You have this, how many data points? 5 data points are there. Okay, same way you have to compute the distance between the centroid, center point 2 and the various data points. Okay, so then for that purpose, let me create a table. Okay, so to compute the distance. Okay, so now I'm computing the distance between the cluster centers, centroids and the data points. Okay, so these are my, the initial column is having all the data points. These are my 5 data points, 2, 4, 4, 6, 6, 8, 10, 4 and 12, 4. Okay, so these are the 5 data points what I'm having these. These are my 5 data points. Okay, so first we need to compute the distance of these data point from V1. So V1 is 4.6. Okay, then we have to compute the distance of this data point from V2. Okay, V2 is 12.4. Okay, so now how do I compute the distance and then assign it to the appropriate cluster, whichever is closer. I will tell you regarding that. First, let's try to compute the distance. How do I compute the distance now? How do I compute the distance? How do I compute the distance?
Distance formula.
Distance formula or Euclidean distance formula. You apply the Euclidean distance formula. So first, let me find out the distance between 2, 4 and 4, 6. That is this part. How do I get the square root of 8? Can somebody tell me how do I get the square root of 8? So this can be x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so as per my Euclidean distance formula, it will be 2 minus 4 the whole square plus 4 minus 6 the whole square. Okay, so 2 square plus 2 square. Okay, so how much do you get? 4 plus 4. 4 plus 4, you get the root of 8, which comes to somewhere, I think, 2 point something. So this is the value which I have calculated. Okay, so same way, compute the distance from the data point to your second centroid. What is your second centroid? 12.4. Okay, so can you fill up this table not just by looking at the PPT what I have projected? Can you just do the computation? You have doubts, you can ask me. Why is this 0? Distance from 4.6 to 4.6, obviously it will be 0. 4 minus 4 the whole square plus 6 minus 6 the whole square. Are you all getting it? Just work out few points. Work out few points. If it is this, See, distance from 12, 12 to 12, 12. It is 0. Got it? So can we go to the last column, how this is? Did you try computing? Did you try computing? Gunalan, are you there in class? Gunalan is not there in class. Okay, so no attendance. No attendance to those who don't respond. Ah, yes, ma'am. Okay, so by word of mouth, you cannot tell yes, ma'am. Immediately you will tell audio issues. Okay, very soon we'll all meet in college. Then let's see who has got the audio issue. So, who else? Umair Ahmad is there? You to have any serious audio problems? Otherwise, tell me, how do you get this 10? How do you get this value 10 here? How do you get this value 10? Anusha is there in class?
Yes, ma'am.
Anusha, can you tell how do you get this 10?
Yes, ma'am. 12 minus 2 is 10 and 10 to the whole square plus 4 minus 4 is 0. So 10 squared to the root will be 10 again. So
Yes,
that's all.
very good, very good. At least somebody is listening in the class. Good. Okay, fine. So shall we go to the last column, the assigned clusters? How do we assign the cluster? Hope all of you have worked out at least 2-3 rows and found out how you got how you're getting these values, and that there are no doubts in this computation part. Hope there are no doubts. Okay, fine. Okay, so you can see here for the data point 2, 4. Okay, so for the data point 2, 4, the distance from centroid V1 is square root of 8. So this is centroid. This is also centroid. Okay, 2 centroids what we have got. Okay, so that's what it means by root 8. Okay, or for the data point 2, 4, the distance from centroid V2, distance from centroid V2, that is what is 10. Okay, so minimum in this, okay, the minimum in this distance is 2.82 or square root of 8. Okay, so this particular centroid, that is centroid V1, will be assigned to data point 2, 4. That's how you are getting here V1. Okay, I'll repeat again. Okay, so I'm just explaining this row, how you are assigning the cluster, assigned cluster, how it is becoming V1. Okay, so for the data point 2, 4, the distance from the cluster center, that is centroid V1, okay, distance from the centroid V1 is square root of 8, which is nothing but it comes to around 2.8 something. Okay, same way for the data point 2, 4, the distance from the centroid V2 is 10. Okay, so the minimum distance, which is more closer, okay, minimum distances among this is 2.83 or square root of 8. So you are assigning V1 to data point 2, 4. Okay, so that's how the assignment is being made. Okay, so here in this case, minimum it's V1. Again, I think it was one of the cluster centers itself, 4, 6. Am I right? Yes, 4, 6 and 12, 4 are the cluster centers itself. There's no need to look into that. V1 will always be a part of 4, 6 will always be a part of V1 because we had already made this assignment. Okay, so these two are, there is no need. Okay, but then for the completeness of the table, you can do it. Okay, so 12, 4 will always be V2. You can see here, this is minimum. So V2. It's a cluster center. We had already made that assignment. Okay, then 6, 8. 6, 8, when you say minimum is 2. So V1 will be assigned to 6, 8. So here V2 will be assigned to 10, 4. Okay, so that's how the assignment is being made. Okay, so this is the cluster table after your iteration. Okay, so now in V1 you have these three. This is 1, 2, 3. Okay, in cluster 1 you have these 3 points, and in cluster 2 you have these 2 points. That is 10, 4 and 12, 4. Okay, so this is the cluster table or the centroids after, cluster table after your first iteration. Okay, so now we have to reiterate, iterate it till you get the similar points. That's what our algorithm says, right? The previous iteration and the current iteration, the data points in the clusters are similar. It's same. There is no change, means we can stop. Okay, yeah, fine. So now let's go to the next iteration and recalculate V1, that is cluster center, with the previous table. Okay, so you have this, so you recalculate with this. Okay, so you need to compute the average of data points in cluster 1. What are the okay, values in cluster 1 is mentioned here, values in cluster 2 is mentioned here. Okay, so it's based on this table. Okay, so you recalculate your centroids based on this previous cluster center table. Okay, so you compute the average, the mean value. You're computing the mean value. So you can say cluster 1, how many data points are there? 3. So 1 by 3, and in bracket you add all these. Okay, so that will land up with this value. This is your new cluster center, 4, 6. Similarly, you recalculate the cluster center V2. Okay, cluster center V2, cluster center 2. Okay, cluster center 2 has to be recalculated in order to find the new value of V2. Okay, so initially we had taken it up as 4, 6 and 12, 4. In the next iteration, what's the value? That's what we are doing, trying to find out here. So we have 2 values here. So 1 divided by 2. Here we had 3, here we have 2. So 1 by 2 into these 2 values summed up. Okay, so these 2 values. Okay, so that there you will end up with 11, 4. Okay, so these are your new centroids. So now what do we do next? What are we supposed to do next? At least a vague idea. If it's wrong, doesn't matter. Ekanand, you belong to which section? C section. Ekanand is there in class. Thiru, that's all I can see. What's your name? Ekanand, right? Are you there in class? No, he is connected and gone for lunch. Okay, let us not give him attendance today. Then who else can answer me? What should we do next? What should we do next? After recomputing the cluster centers? After recomputing the cluster centers, what are we supposed to do?
Calculate SSE.
No, before that, we have to compute the distance once again, right? Distance, yeah. You mean your sum of squared error is nothing but part of with your Euclidean distance itself. So this table, you have to compute the distance between the new cluster center and the data points now. Okay, so this was with respect to 4 and 6. V1 was 4 and V2 is 12, 4. So now with the new cluster centers, that is 4, 6. What is the distance of those 5 points from 4, 6? What is the distance of those 5 points from 11, 4? Okay, so that is repeat from step 2 until we get the same cluster center or same cluster element as in the previous iteration. So we have to keep on repeating this process. So again, once again, you have this table. Okay, you have all the 5 data points, and you have your new cluster centers, okay, or centroids, new centroids. So you compute again, once again, your Euclidean distance, compute all these values. Can you compute one and see whether you are getting the answers? And then you assign them to the appropriate cluster. Okay, so out here This is the minimum, so it gets assigned to V1. Okay, so V1 gets assigned to 2, 4. Here V1 gets assigned to 4, 6, C. And this is the cluster center. 4, 6, yeah, 4, 6, and 11, 4 are the cluster centers. So this is a cluster center. Okay, right? So then here it is root of 8. So again, V1. Here the minimum is 1. So V2. Here again it is V2. Right? Fine. So now you form the clusters after the second iteration. So these 3 will be one cluster. These 2 will be the second cluster. Okay, second cluster. So it is 2, 4, 4, 6, and 6, 8 forming cluster 1, and 10, 4, and 12, 4 forming second cluster. So now let's look at our table 1.1. Is it same? It's the same, right? After the second iteration also, you're getting the same table. So here also it is the same. Here also it is the, after the second iteration also, there is no change in the cluster table. So it is exactly the same. Okay, so at this point, we can terminate our k-means clustering with the 2 clusters, whatever is being shown here. So as per our rule, we have to repeat it till we get the same cluster center or same cluster elements as in the previous iteration. Okay, so now you can plot them on a graph. You can plot them on a graph and put this is cluster 1 with the points 2, 4, 4, 6, and 6, 8. In a graph sheet, you can plot it. It should be there as a part of this cluster. Then the next cluster, 10, 4, and 12, 4 can be a part of this second cluster. So you can plot the points. You have a graph sheet, you can plot the points and accordingly do it. Okay, so that's what your k-means clustering is all about. Okay, 5 more minutes. Okay, let me take attendance. Oh God, now to take an attendance is a big thing. So any doubts? No doubts, right? As such, there won't be any doubts. No doubt means, what does it mean, Anirudh?